This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. There he is. Yes, sir. Am I right or am I wrong here? If you're going to remake the Warriors, it has to be in New York.
Yeah, of course. You got to do it in the right place, man. No doubt.
Can't be in Australia. They're trying to make the Warriors in Australia.
That's just because that's where they make all the movies now, right?
Right. And like when Snake Plissken was escaping New York, that was cool, right? But LA, come on, bro. You know, wasn't he like surfing a shark or something on
it was
from LA or something? I forgot. But
it was a wild movie.
Yeah, that was bad. It was bad. Yeah. Nowadays, bro, they have no creativity. All they do is make everything, remake everything.
Yep. It's all about branding.
All right, so let me go through this. Mm-hmm. So this Rashada kid,
yep.
He said Florida has it all, and they're going to come through with their commitments, and I know this, that, and so now, well, I guess the NIL commitment didn't come through, and then he's going to back out of this. Or what's going on with this whole mess?
Yeah, well, to sum it up pretty simply, somebody got screwed here, and I think his name was Jaden Rashada. Basically, what happened is he agreed to a certain dollar amount right before signing his national letter of intent. The way the rules work, you can't collect any of that money till you're on campus, right? So he signs the deal, assumes he's going to make X amount of money, and then he signs the national letter of intent. He's going to go to start classes, and all of a sudden, the Florida collective's like, no, we're not paying you that much money. And this is just the way that NIL is sort of shaped up to be. In a sense where you have to believe that this is what you're agreeing to and this is what you're going to get. And the reality is those collectives ultimately can do what they want because nothing can be official anyway until you're on campus. You can't sign a real deal and get paid for it until you're on campus. So,
well, that's a bad look for Florida, bro. Because now Miami and Florida State are going to use that against them and say, hey, man, they might tell you they're going to pay you this, but you see what happened in Rashada? They told him one thing, and now they pulled the bait and switch on him. That's also not going to be a good look for Florida if that's the case, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, none of this stuff ever makes them look good, but we live in a spin zone society, and the fact that all of this is hidden behind the scenes, it's a he said, she said type scenario, right? Nobody ever sees the contract. Nobody ever gets to see the actual information on all this stuff because it's done illegally, right? And you're not supposed to be inducing kids with NIL rather before they sign the NLI. It's supposed to work the other way around, but that's what happens when you create a dumbass setup for this whole thing. To me, let's be real. It's all about inducement. That's what all of this is about. You're all about trying to bring in the best players. And the only way you can really dangle that carrot is before they sign a national letter of intent. They can get in the transfer portal and transfer, but that's a whole nother headache that these guys don't want to deal with. And I think Jaden Rashada, ultimately, you read the tea leaves, he wasn't happy with whatever it was that they did offer him once they changed the offer. And that's why he's still looking for a place to go.
Is Miami going to be still an option?
No.
Okay.
No, I think Miami's moved on from that a while ago. I had some pretty funny emojis tweeted at me in response to what happened with Florida and Rashada from some people on staff over there at Miami. So they kind of were like, hey, this is what you get, bro. Like, this is kind of your consequence. You wanted to flip schools, that's fine.
Okay, and so Cormani, what's going to happen with him? Because what happened with Rashada, this is going to be, kind of a thing, a sign of things to come now.
It's all negotiation, man, right? I mean, the player, ultimately, they have the most power before they sign the contract, before they show up to classes. And again, nothing is binding until you step on campus. So he can ask, like in Rashada's case, he can ask for a release from his scholarship and sign with somewhere else. Once you step foot on campus, then you set in motion other headaches. You're allowed to do the one-time transfer, but it's still a headache to have to go through that process. You're still locked into an NIL deal with that school until things are wrangled out. So in Cormani's case, I think, it's pretty easy to see his situation, right? He wasn't sure if DVD, his favorite coach, the one that he has a bond with, is he still going to be at Miami? He wasn't going to enroll early anyway. He couldn't get into campus early because his grades and his academics weren't necessarily ready to go. And then, there's always holding out for more money. Hey, I could put more pressure on Miami by not signing. So those are all reasons in my mind why somebody like Cormani McClain would wait to sign, because if you're not going to enroll early anyway in January, then you don't have to push it. You're gonna end up enrolling in classes in the summertime. You have more time to see if you can squeeze more money out of an NIL collective. So I think ultimately here, we'll see what he decides on Sunday. I know that there's not going to be a ceremony. I reached out to somebody at Lakeland. I said, is there any sort of ceremony? I guess not. I don't know if it's just going to be an announcement on Twitter, on social media. If his mom's going to take a picture of him holding a different hat on his head, who knows? I just know ultimately he can't really sign until February 1st anyway. That's when the next signing period technically opens up. So, whatever he signs on Sunday, a financial aid agreement, that's non-binding. So to me, Sunday will be the day he says something, but really the day that we know where Cormani McClain is going is in the summertime when he's actually in class at a university.
Right, exactly. And do you have any feeling on it?
Again, I reported what he told me from our conversation in Orlando. My feeling on it is I think Miami remains the leader because they've got DeMarcus Van Dyke on their staff. I think the best payday for him is probably at Miami, but you can never rule out Alabama. You can never rule out Deion Sanders in Colorado. And so we'll see what happens on Sunday. But, again, until he's on campus in the summertime, I think all of us need to stop hyperventilating over this kid.
No, I'm with you there. Somebody's asking, do you think NIL will affect the talent of NFL players? That a lot of athletes don't want to go to the next level because they got paid big in college. No. I don't think that's going to be much of the case, to be quite honest with you, because here's how I'm going to look at it. Here's pretty easy. The knuckleheads will be weeded out quickly, and the guys that are really good and they're going to make it through 3 to 4 years. You follow me on this. You tell me, because you follow this way more than I do. Mm-hmm. But just from that question, the quality kids that survive 3 to 4 years and they're making their money, those kind of people are already going to be thinking about the next level, and they're going to be well prepared for it instead. I don't think you're going to get a lot of the jerks overall. Right. Those kind of kids may not make it through the whole thing. Like a Rashada, with all this hype and all this talk, and this kid's more focused on money than on football, then all of a sudden he's going to be focused more on social media than football, and he's going to be focused more on other sponsorships than football. And those kind of guys will fall by the wayside. The quality individuals are the ones that are going to stay with programs for a while. They're the ones that are going to earn money, and they're the ones that are going to set themselves up. But very few of them, brother, you're always going to have an Eli Manning and a who's the other guy? Oh, John Elway. Mm-hmm. You're always going to have some of those guys that are going to say, oh, I don't want to play for you. That's always going to happen every once in a while. I don't think the NIL is necessarily going to induce that thing to happen more often, let's just say.
No, I agree with you. I think, look, the bottom line is, to your bigger point about whether or not this really affects guys and their motivation or whatever to get to the NFL, I think the guys that really want to get to the NFL are the ones that have always been the hardest workers, who have always been super focused on their career. And, I've had the chance here to speak to a lot of coaches, not just Miami related. I'm more of a national guy now in that sense. So, I've talked to high school coaches. I've talked to kids from all over the country, all over the East Coast, West Coast here in the last couple of weeks about NIL. And the sentiment is a lot of these guys didn't take the biggest offer. Okay. They didn't go and sign with the school that offered them the most money. Exactly. In the end, it was a combination of, hey, can this school get close enough, or is it a good amount where, hey, that's good enough for me and I can still go play for the best coach and the best team that fits me So I think in the long run, the kids who have their heads screwed on right and aren't just focused on money, those guys are still going to make the NFL no matter what. I just think there's a lot of other guys, okay, and this has been going on for decades, well before NIL, who use their athletic talents just to get money or just to get into school or just to take care of their family any way they can, and they don't care about making it to the NFL. There's always going to be those guys too. So that's the tough part.
By the way, one more thing for that guy there, Breezy 305. The guy that at the end of the run wants to act like a jerk, that guy's not going to have any money in the bank anyways. Usually those guys are a disaster and they're spending money and they're just throwing it away and all that stuff.
Smoking weed all day, doing whatever.
Right, exactly. like the kid I bet you in Alabama, the quarterback who's going to make a lot of money, but he's a quality individual. You can see. Now, you can argue whether you think he's tall enough or big enough for the next level and all that other stuff. That's the football talk out of it. But that's a quality individual, and he's probably made a lot of money at Alabama. That guy is not going to be a problem for the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Per se. Now, Jaden Rashada, he's already starting to look like that kind of problem down the line already, because once you start talking about it's all about money and not about the program and not about – so you've already dissed Florida and Miami, two excellent programs. So where are you going next, dude? Oh, because it's all about the money. It's not really about the program. Those kind of guys will weed themselves out. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Right. I think, and the other side of that, is, this is just free agency, right? NFL free agency at the high school level. That's all this is. And unfortunately, you're dealing with parents and kids who don't necessarily have Drew Rosenhaus or some of the more professional guys that are agents dealing with them, right? They don't have those guys involved in this process, helping them guide through negotiations. It's kind of them on their own. And if they do hire a lawyer, I mean, how much experience do they really have with any of that? The kids are young. They're 17, 18 years old. They're not in their early 20s. They haven't lived through the college lifestyle yet. So this is going to happen more and more. And the fans of teams just have to be patient and realize that the way teams are constructed nowadays, it's almost better in some regards, to honestly take transfers, because those guys, they know what they want. They want to get to the league. They're leaving the school, the college that they're at. They learned what didn't work for them, right, at their previous school, and they're highly motivated to do whatever the hell the next coach wants because they want to get to the league. They want to get paid.
That's a great point.
So to me, that's what's going to happen when you deal with high school kids. They're told for a long time that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everybody calls them. Where are you going to school? Where we want to know. All the recruiting websites call them 24 hours a day. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, you get to the payday, to the most important moment where you got to sign the document and start enrolling classes. And hey, guess what? What you thought was coming wasn't coming. And you just have a tough situation for families and kids to deal with. And so it's complicated, it's crazy, but it's the sports world we live in now.
All right. By the way, we want you to follow Manny on Twitter at Manny_Navarro, and more importantly, subscribe to The Athletic. And one of the articles you wrote in The Athletic is you were going over Miami's roster. Quarterback, I think defensive tackle were areas you are not satisfied with, let's say.
Yeah, I think cornerback and defensive tackle are two areas that I still think they've got to go out and sign a number one type player if available through the portal. I think also wide receiver, that's probably the biggest one as well. Those three positions, I look at this roster and I say, who's the true number one guy? At cornerback, they went out and they got Devontae Brown, who is a 3-year starter at UCF. I like the kid. I think he's going to be a solid player, but is he a true number one cornerback at the ACC level? Is he a guy who can cover the best receiver and compete with him? Maybe not shut him down, but at least give you a fighting chance. I'm not sure. And then you got a couple of other guys that are returning on this roster that, to Corey Couch, for instance, who's more of a slot guy. He's not really an outside guy. And this is a secondary that gave up a ton of plays. So to me, that's important. And then from a defensive tackle standpoint, Daryl Jackson was lost to Florida State. There was a report out there that he was thinking about potentially coming back to Miami. That didn't happen. Miami signed a 3-year starter from Purdue who's 6'2", 280. Daryl Jackson a bigger individual than that. Just a guy that fills a hole and really helps a kid like Leonard Taylor at the defensive tackle spot get to do his thing. So Miami's smaller at the defensive tackle position. They're not as deep as they were before. So to me, that's another area. And so, and then outside receiver. I mean, that was well documented. How many breakdowns at the wide receiver position? Colby Young came in and did a good job. But is he a true number one? Is he a guy that's going to take the top off of a defense and help Tyler Van Dyke throw the deep ball the way he could with Charleston Rambo? So to me, those are the three biggest positions where I'm still looking at this roster and I'm saying, man, they're missing guys, and why I say they can't win probably more than 7 games with the roster they have.
It's crazy. By the way, what's happened to the wide receiver spot at the University of Miami, bro? Yeah. I mean, this team just they handed the NFL first rounders all the time. What happened, dude?
Yeah, I think you just have a bad run. I mean, Curtis Johnson was here for a long time with Larry Coker, right? And Curtis Johnson ended up going to the NFL. He's working with the Saints. You had a professional wide receivers coach, and then you've just kind of had a merry-go-round at that position. And recruiting-wise, they've gotten a couple of kids to stay home, but not the kind of guys who were ever going to develop into elite wide receivers, like kids who left here and went to go play for Ohio State or went to go play for Alabama. Those guys, the Jerry Judys of the world, the Amari Coopers of the world, all the South Florida-based standouts who have gone on to have good NFL careers, they left town because Miami wasn't winning. So you have to get back to recruiting that position elite level. The last couple of guys that Miami's gotten that have been any good at it have come through the transfer portal. KJ Osborne, Charleston Rambo, who they plucked out of Oklahoma, who didn't make the NFL, but I thought was a fabulous college, number one type receiver for Miami. So, in the end, they just got to do a better job bringing guys in and developing them. They've got a lot of grinders on this team. You'll have tough kids like Xavier Restrepo, who's kind of like another Braxton Berrios. You'll have a Colby Young, who's kind of an overachiever from the JUCO ranks, who's a big body guy who'll make some nice catches. But man, where are the special playmakers that make college football exciting? Those are the guys that have to show up here in the next couple years if this program is really going to take off.
Well, listen, bro, it's time for, John Ruiz to put on a mustache.
Oh, they tried. A
hat, go, put on like some kind of dark coat, walk over to some Ohio bar where Brian Hartline is hanging and tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, Brian, we got a spot for you in Miami. You played for the Dolphins. You love that South Florida weather. Let's get out of Columbus. Come on down to Miami and recruit wide receivers. Come on, let's go. I mean, Brian Hartline, bro, he has become like the ultimate recruiter in the USA, baby. I think he might be the number one recruiter right now in the USA.
Well, he's certainly become a great at developing wide receivers, and it's a perfect sort of marriage there at Ohio State. You can go into a conference where really there's not too many offenses that can score with you, and you get these receivers that come in and they all have huge days because there's so much talent on the field. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s an absolute stud. You look at that roster and just guys that have come out of that program every single year since he's been there. So, I think at some point here, Brian Hartline will probably want to become a head coach somewhere. There'll be some school in the Northeast or somewhere up in that area that'll say, hey, we'll pay you a lot of money to come here and recruit like that for us. But for right now, it's the perfect marriage. Ohio State's the school to go get wide receivers, and Miami used to be. We used to have that on the logo. Remember the receiver catching the ball underneath the U that they used to use on those ESPN broadcasts, and not anymore, man.
I know. What do they use now? What position? What are they known for now?
Tight end, I guess. Is that kind of the one position they're known for? I don't know. I know they're not known for first rounders anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah. God, it's not even.
Gregory Rousseau and Jalen Phillips are basically holding the flag here for the recent few years.
So it has to be like a D lineman we have to put there.
D end, I guess. A long bodied D end.
Yeah, that's it. Just like a guy in a 3-point stance.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not exactly what college football looks like anymore when you're getting 65-7 and 51-46 and all these basketball scores, low-scoring basketball college games.
Damn, bro. Damn. Mario's got a lot of work ahead of him. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Please subscribe to The Athletic so you can get the latest, not just on the Canes, but all over college football, all over the nation, NFL, NBA, international soccer, all kinds of stuff. Terrific site, terrific insiders on it. Manny, as always, appreciate you, my brother. We will talk on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend, or Tuesday it is. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, brother. You too.
You got it. There you go. Manny Navarro. Don't forget, go to Canes Wear. That's at 2511 South University Drive in Davie. They've got anything and everything practically with the Canes logo on it. It is just absolutely an amazing place. It is heaven for a Canes fan. They also have Inter Miami gear, Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Marlins. So Panthers, they've got all the other teams locally in town, so you can buy stuff from them, but you can also find, almost anything and everything with a UM logo on it. It's actually a really, really cool place, and you can go online. So if you live out of the area, you can go to caneswear.com, and when you order over $99, you will get free shipping. And by the way, they ship right away. Jeff and the staff do an awesome job. I'm telling you, Brett has created a monster there at Caneswear, and go see Brett and Jeff and all the amazing people at Caneswear, 2511 South University Drive in Davie. Follow them on Twitter at Canes_wear. That is your Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.